This is the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Subscribe to us wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Also catch us on the HWWS Web TV YouTube channel. Subscribe today and become part of the legend.
Welcome to Clever Title Pending with your host, Brian K. Morris, independent publisher, freelance hybrid author, award-winning playwright, and former mortician's assistant. Don't send him title recommendations because Brian knows exactly what he's doing. So just sit down and look pretty as Brian K. Morris scrolls through your comments and plays with his mouse. Join him on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, for Evening Pandemonium and Moonlight Madness.
Good evening, everyone. How the heck are you? Hey, welcome to Clever Title Pending for January 19th, 2021. Glad you're here, whether you're watching us on the reruns or watching us here live and can give us your questions. We welcome you all. Thank you to everyone who's listening on iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and Spotify, and other podcasting services. We appreciate you guys and gals as well. As always, thank you for your kind attentions. We hope that during the course of the evening, you'll have some great questions for our upcoming guests who we're about to bring on in a couple of minutes. If you're watching us on Facebook, on the Rising Tide Publications page, or on the Rising Tide Broadcast Network page, of which this is a proud part, please like the video if you enjoy any part of it, and also share it with your friends. That helps us a lot. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, on the Brian K. Morris Rising Tide Publications channel, or on Geek Insider, again, please give a thumbs up to the video if you enjoy it, and also subscribe and ring that little bell so you'll be notified of any future appearances. And we want to thank, of course, as always, our Patreon supporters. Patreon, where you can support your favorite creators with a monthly subscription, even as low as $1 helps a lot. But anyway, please check us out on patreon.com/Brian K. Morris. And also, this show is brought to you by Plasma Fire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you because it matters to your readers. So check out what Jeffrey Hayes can do for you, not just book covers, but also promo videos and advertising graphics. Check with him. He's got great prices and easy to work with. Trust me on that. Also, please go to risingtide.pub and sign up for my free monthly newsletter. Next issue goes out February 1st. I about advanced the year by a month, but no. And we are also powered by geekinsider.com. Please check it out. Now, I'm really happy. I really am, despite my grim demeanor, that we've got a very special guest with us tonight. This is very relevant, and you saw his spot at the start of the show. He is a Doctor Who fan. His love for the program is infectious. At least I hope that's what it is. And also, he is fun. He hosts a great show that precedes this one on the Hanging with Web Show Network and on Wizard World. The great Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. He's going to tell us where that name came from. And he's a frequent contributor to the folderol in the chat area of these shows. And it is seriously a delight to have this man here. I want to present to you the one, the only Mr. Christian Basel. Christian!
Hello, I am the Traveling TARDIS. How are you there, Brian K. Morris? How are you today? It is very late tonight, and I go through time and space. This is late, damn it. I am really late. Yeah. Oh, look at all the chats that just skipping. We're only 30 minutes behind. Okay, never mind. That's fine.
I was having flashbacks when Ron Fitzgerald was on here cosplaying as me. Oh my god.
Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Let's go. Hello, Carl, Teresa, Michaela, Carly, Mr. Trevor Hawkins, Cindy, Alfred Pennyworth, Ted, Sarah. Oh, the Dark Mistress is here. Okay, and Willow. Yep, I just saved us 20 minutes by switching our insurance to Geico.
All right.
We don't have.
Hey, hope you enjoyed the show, everyone. Have a good evening. We'll see you next week on Clever Title Pending. We are done.
We're done.
It's okay. I've got my co-host here that will take.
Speaking of which, I got to do something for everybody out there.
Okay.
I'm going to do something. Who was the gentleman who dressed up like you, cosplayed like you?
That was Master Ron Fitzgerald.
I can't do what he did, but I don't think. Yes, Dark Mistress. Well, I can't do what he did. But for those of you who've ever done StreamYard and worked with it with the equipment and stuff like that, there are some privileges where you can actually see the host and your co-hosts while they're working. So this is my impression of Mr. Brian K. Morris as he's preparing for the show. And this is Brian. And this goes on for about 2 to 3 minutes. It was hysterical watching. It was just like, oh God, I got to impersonate him now.
Everybody's be cosplaying me now. No, that's because I have bifocals, and sometimes it's a little tough to, I'm looking at a clock across the room in real time, and then I've got like the controls, and I got my videos over there, and you understand because you use StreamYard for that beautiful.
I use the same damn thing. It's Meredith, so I'm just like,
we're both on the same account.
We're using it. I regret it later. I might start pulling my stuff in here. I don't know.
That's okay, buddy. There's one thing you'll never get back.
Oh yeah.
And I've got some more.
Never ever die. Oh, you do?
I've got some more that you haven't seen yet. I haven't fully edited them. Yes, I do possess enough capability to edit screenshots now.
Do you have your cup, sir? Do you have your cup?
I don't have. My other cup is downstairs, but I brought a big.
Okay. Well, get out your product placement. Here we go.
Okay, there we go. Yes. You can get Legend of the Traveling TARDIS merchandising. Of course, I could let you go on. Give me 1 minute. I can run downstairs, get my cup, and then.
It is totally up to you. Mine's is not full. I wanted to do a product placement together. I don't want to stop your show for 1 minute. No. I could run commercials while you're going downstairs.
Well, we might just do that.
I forgot about that.
You've got to introduce yourself, because as I always say, you get the floor. And
are you going to make my head bigger than it should be? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay, me 1 minute. Give me 1 minute. I'll let you know what you'll see back. So tell everybody who you are, how awesome you are, and if you want segue into where you fell in love with Doctor Who, the program.
Oh God, that would be more than an hour here. Are you kidding me?
That's what I'm banking on.
That's what you're banking on. So you're gonna wash the cup now, or what? How much time do you need on this cup thing?
I'm gonna take it back to the river and clean it there.
Wait a minute. Let's do this.
3, 2, 1. You're in control.
I'm in control now. Okay. Hello, my name is Brian K. Morris, and I know I'm 30 minutes behind on the chats now, but I just want to go through the chats over there. Oh, thank you, Sarah. Hilarious impression there. Oh, that voice is yummy. Yes, I do. I do think that Brian's voice is very yummy. Thank you very much. So, Christian, what's your favorite Doctor Who? Oh, wow. Okay, there's a question there. We're already in the chats. I'll wait until Brian gets back. So I'm going to hide your chat, Terry. Sorry about that. But for those of you just joining us, my name is Christian Basel. I run a podcast. Wow, let's get started. Called The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. You can go onto our Facebook page, facebook.com, The Traveling TARDIS. And also you can go now, thanks to Meredith, the lady who runs Geek Insider, geekinsider.com. Wonderful Meredith Lauren. She's been helping me put my website together, and she is totally awesome. And we're getting close to our final, but if you would like, after the show, don't do it now. Come on. The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS.com. We're going on we're entering our third year now. Sometime in October, I know that we'll be running in our third year. We started the podcast. Well, if we're going to go back, I don't know what he's doing out there, but okay. To start with the Traveling TARDIS, it was just an idea. I bought this little TARDIS 8 years ago now. as kind of, I wouldn't say a goof, but just a kind of a hobby trait. And the thought process was to take the TARDIS and take it places and take pictures where the Doctor doesn't normally go. When I first started, if you look at the Facebook page, you can see that I was taking to places like Home Depot and Publix. Almost got in trouble with Publix. A long story, but in places, and then I would take it to Disney, and then all of a sudden, I was starting to go to conventions. People started listening to me. People invited me to conventions, and one thing led to another, and that's basically the actual legend of the traveling TARDIS. It started with just like Walt Disney says, I hope we never forget one thing. It all started with a mouse. It all started with a metal box that I bought on Amazon for $75 plus shipping and handling. And now it has become the most famed icon in the Whoniverse as far as people around here in the Southeast are concerned there. Wow, they're getting to a lot of chats, and I don't Brian's just going to leave me up here for the next hour. I know that for a fact. There we go. I know.
For a minute, if you look in that little left-hand corner, you can see what's going on in the monitor. I've been sitting here.
I do, but I just like, I'm talking in there.
My cup regenerated.
Your cup regenerated. There you go. There's product placement. If
I know it, brother.
There you go.
Well,
yeah.
Oh, and it tastes so much better too.
It tastes like a dark mistress. I love it.
It tastes like
a warrior's secret. Yep, there we go.
And it tastes like a freshly printed book spine.
But anyway, we get to the chats because they just ran off.
And you've said hello to just about everybody. Michaela's grabbing her bucket of popcorn, snuggling on the couch between Carl and Carly. And
I am jealous of a box of popcorn right now.
Yeah, and hooray for Captain Spaulding, the African. I shouldn't sing, but I could get in trouble with YouTube. But anyway, hooray, hooray, hooray. Thank you, Cindy Kep, CKOETV.com. And they're already getting the popcorn fights there. And
yeah, that's true. I like the kettle corn myself, but okay.
Oh, yeah. That stuff's sweet.
Ooh, yeah.
Anyway, Cindy Kemp says, passed up 50,000
followers.
Congratulations.
I have no idea what that number means anymore. And I've been telling people it's like, I love to see the numbers go up like that. It's just like, at this point, I'm kind of doing it for fun more than for numerics now. Actually today marks the and yeah, Cindy, we gotten 50,000 followers before the show. During the show that we did just an hour ago, The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS, we just crossed 49,000 likes. So here's my deal: is once I get to 50,000, I'll shut up. Come on, I'm just like, I'm not going to push it anymore. It's now a number unless I can do something with it. So. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah,
we're quite a following though, dude. And especially for doing this for 2 or 3 years.
Well, the traveling.
How do you think you've done it? Seriously, how do you think you've done it?
Here's the thing, and I think Michaela Jade would attest to this. So you just keep going. You don't stop.
Yep.
You find new ways but the traveling TARDIS started 8 years ago, which nobody really takes into the equation. They think it started with the podcast, and so the podcast has a growing audience. I think we've acquired something like over 20,000 people since the podcast started, but this thing has been developing its own fan base since day one. But since we got to the podcast, which was for those of you who are Whovians and know this well, we started the day before Jodie Whittaker premiered on Doctor Who. So our first episode, which was like a half hour, and it was only like 2 or 3 people. And forgive me, I don't remember who they were. I don't even know if they're still working for the show now. But
he's left them behind, famous.
Yeah, exactly. We've morphed and we've grown. Yeah. But our first episode was the Saturday before because Jodie was to premiere on the Sunday. Our predictions for that episode, and that was 30 minutes. Oh yeah, Gene Turnbow, who runs Krypton Radio, and I think they're morphing into a new name called Sci-Fi Radio.
Oh, nice.
He was one of the guests, and they're one of our producers, and they put our show every Saturday when it drops every Saturday. And as soon as the show over, I got probably one of the best compliments from a producer. It's just like, 30 minutes is not enough for this show, so we expanded it to an hour right after that. So we kind of grew up, and we are going in our third year. Our first year, and we're kind of the first year was mostly podcasts of things I really wanted to talk about and delve into. It was kind of going into stuff. The other shows, and I'm not downing any of the other podcasts that are out there. They're great, they're wonderful in their own right. But if you go through it, most of them are now doing reviews of classic Who. And I said, I don't want to be the next podcast to do that. So some of the stuff that we went into was heavy hitting. I believe one of them was talking about anti-bullying in the Whoniverse. I mean, this is the year when it came out to bullying in the fan base was just coming out. And it was something I wanted to address. Diversity. There was also talk about, I got my friend Simon Fisher Becker, who's actually part of the Traveling TARDIS. For those of you who are Whovians, you know him as Dorian Moldovar, the big blue guy from The Good Man Goes to War and a few other episodes. And he became part of the team. I was just like, I asked him if he wanted to be more into the team. He says, no, I think I'm part of it now. I want to be part of it. I'm like, okay. So we have an actual person who's been from Doctor Who, who's worked on the show as part of so now he's part of the legend.
Nice.
So I'm just going on a tangent right now because people goes, well, where did it all start? And I said, it started 8 years ago with a piece of metal. It's blown up to where it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the running joke about this is the philosophy in later years with the Traveling TARDIS was that, I forgot, somebody had mentioned that it can't be a legend if everybody knows what it is. It can't be a legend in its progression if it's continuing to go on. Meaning, like, if you meet George Washington in his early stage, it's not a legend yet until now. Mm-hmm. So the idea behind it now is that you know that the Traveling TARDIS is a legend. You're going through the slow path of how it became that legend, if that makes sense. So you're actually seeing, it would be like having a Facebook page when Benjamin Franklin started and seeing his progression, seeing all of his posts, and seeing how he became the person that he is, that we remember. So the Traveling TARDIS is, you're on the legend and becoming part of it. That's right, Michaela J. The legend has grown. Jesus. You're on the progression of watching how this little blue box became popular. Go for it.
There you go. And we've got all kinds of comments here. We started out with about 70 of them before we started the show. And Sarah's hanging in there. Good to see you, sweetheart. We've got our first question from Carleen.
There's a question in here, actually.
That's why I run the show. I'm telling you, brother. I've got this under control. First question for Christian from Carleen. How did you meet Melanie Dean, and is she your Clara?
You know what? There's a lot of things about the convention circuit that has become my sorry. The little doggy inside. Sorry, just had a little cough there.
He's screaming to get out.
Well, Melanie and I met on the convention circuit. She was selling stuff. I was on another show, and I was doing panels for other stuff, but it was mainly for Doctor Who. And we just kind of hit off. We became friends. Became Facebook friends, and just when I started everything, I asked Melanie if she wanted to join in. For the better term that I've always explained it, if I'm Walt, she's Roy. She keeps me in check before I go completely insane. And I really can't do this show without Melanie. She is the director of the show, and she just makes sure that everything is aligned up, and she's been very helpful. It's just like, because she knows what I do in the background to make things happen, to make the hamburgers. She knows how the tacos and the hamburgers are made in the kitchen. She sees me doing it and just like, do you need help? And she's been more than wonderful. So she's terrific. She is terrific. Just her alone is awesome.
We all need a Melanie for our show.
Yeah, exactly.
Some of us more than others.
I will say something like, okay, I have this idea, and then she'll go, no, that's a bad idea. And I said, you're right, it's a bad idea. That's so yeah, if I'm Walt, she's Roy, and she keeps me in check.
That's probably
yeah.
So Trevor Hawkins now has a question. He wants to know Christian, who was your very first Doctor?
Tom Baker. I was a creature of PBS, just like you.
Yeah.
I've told this story like 100 times over, but I don't mind telling it again. There, I had parents who raised me on PBS because they didn't know better, and they saw Sesame Street, and Electric Company, 321 Contact, Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
Then it went into the news hour. But if they left the TV on, I got to know Benny Hill and Dave Allen and Monty Python.
Right.
And I got to know the two Ronnies. And I believe this was at a time when PBS was full frontal nudity. I think that was the only time, if I'm not mistaken, that's when it you kind of had that. Yeah. So I was getting a lot. Are You Being Served? All those shows. So I was getting an education from PBS, whether I liked it or not.
Whether your parents liked it or not.
Well, yeah. Well, they left it on. They're just like, yeah, that's not Big Bird. And they left it on long enough so I could see Doctor Who. I don't even. I asked this question to a lot of Whovians, especially. I'll ask you just to see if you know.
Certainly.
Do you remember who's your doctor? Who was your first doctor?
Mine has kind of a technicality, as you well know. My first doctor was actually Peter Cushing.
Okay. TV doctor. For the sake, let's name it TV.
The one I adopted was Tom Baker, but the one I saw first was John Pertwee.
What episode was it?
I found out later it was like episode 3 of Invasion of the Dinosaurs. I knew nothing about Doctor Who except a little bit of the concept and the name, and it took me 10 minutes to figure out who the damn doctor was.
Did you know? But you said you found out later, so you didn't know at that point. I didn't know at the time either, and I've always said Robot was my first episode because that's all I remember. Right. But I was young too, so I don't even think I remember the very first episode. But I was hooked. Yeah. I was hooked on Tom Baker.
Oh yeah. I didn't even get 20 minutes through the show before I knew this was my doctor.
Yeah. Well, it was my character. This was somebody I could relate to because everybody had at that time. It was, that was early 80s. I'm trying to remember. In some cases, late 70s. Right. So I vaguely remember. I think I was watching it in Miami when my parents lived there and moved over here to Orlando. But it was this cool thing, and the guy got into a blue box, and it was Sarah Jane. I remember Sarah Jane was the first companion for me, but I can remember the first episode to tell you. And then I saw things like wow, I can't even remember. I just remember after a while, it's just like Doctor Who's one big globby memory. Because when I started out with when Christopher Eccleston came back with the reboot, I remembered Rose, then I remembered The End of the World, then I remembered The Unquiet Dead, and then Dalek. Now, if you ask me about a particular episode, my brain goes, okay, I remember things about the episode. I just can't remember the titles anymore. So
I have trouble with the titles, mostly because there have been so many of them. Although, something like Robot is just such a cornerstone of the show, simply because it is the first Baker, Caves of Androzani, Last Davison, things like that. But and there's some that if you tell me what happened in that episode, I'd be hard pressed to try to recall.
Remember the name of the episode, but I can remember everything about the episode. I think the Robots of Death. Oh gosh, I'm just like my brain is just completely fried. I remember little hit things like Legopolis and Keeper of Truck, and I'm beginning to remember little bits. But once somebody goes into an explanation or tells me about it, then I remember everything about it. Oh, that was the episode. So
right. Well, aren't you glad you weren't around for the Pertwee, or not the Pertwee, but the first two Doctors when they had each episode in the series individually named? So, I couldn't keep up with that, even back when his brain was young.
I still haven't seen them all. I just first of all, some of them have been wiped, some of them don't exist, and it's just. And when I was a kid, I gotta confess, when I watched Doctor Who, if it was the long version, the long 90-minute version where they put everything together, I had a tendency to fall asleep. I still love the show, but it's just like, this is going long, and where's my scarf and curly hair guy? So where is he?
Exactly. And Cindy Kemp has a joke for us. Why did the Dalek apply for the job in pest control? He liked the job description. Exterminate. Thank you, Cindy.
Cindy, we love you.
We do.
Your jokes on Facebook are probably one of the top 10 things that keep me on Facebook sane. Otherwise, I go insane.
Exactly. Now here we've got a really good question. Now you've got
really bingos.
Yeah, well, yeah, Dastardly Dingoes, Brian Robin. Check out that podcast there. Willow Schuyler, who I will be on the pillow with Willow, me and 3 other guys, this coming Sunday at 7 o'clock Eastern time. She wants to know: do you do anything before showtime to prepare your voice?
No, it comes naturally sexy this way. I don't know why. I don't know how it happens.
Yeah.
Michaela says it's very sexy. I'm kind of like, I don't know. I don't know what you see in it, but it works. I have been told on many occasions that I should either have been a DJ for a smooth jazz station, or when '90s when oh yes. Thanks, Michaela. Or I should have gone when it was big in the '90s. Those little phone sex things that I should have been operator, and I would have been like a millionaire right now. And I think I should, but I'm just like,
not too late, Christian.
What's that? Well, I don't know if like I was still like in my 20s, so I'm like, do I feel legally bound to do this?
It's as legal as anything.
Yeah, but I didn't know back then. I was just like, now I do.
True, that's true. Yeah, that's a good point. Dan Holofield of Stupid Clock. Good to see you, sir. Glad you finally made it, sir. What a pleasure.
Wow.
And Jeffrey Hayes of PlasmaFireGraphics.com says, good evening, Brian and Christian. Here's to a good show. Thank you, brother.
Jeffrey.
Appreciate that. Trevor Hawkins has a question here. He is a Whovian himself.
Mm-hmm.
He says, so Christian, what is your favorite Doctor Who convention?
I'm going to be honest. I've only been to 2. It's really hard. And I have to give it, what do you got? When you give one preferential treatment because of knowing it a bit more.
Right.
I've been to Wholanta, and I'm not downing Wholanta at all, but I only went out there once. It was wonderful. It was great. They had Doctor Who celebrities and interact. I was on panels and stuff, but I got to give the laurels to the late, great Ken Spivey. Mm-hmm. Passed away beginning of the 1st of last year when COVID was in its still didn't know about it, and then I just found out recently he was actually a victim of COVID because he had a car accident and he was unable to recover from that, and then he got COVID, which just exacerbated the situation. Having said all this, he ran a convention called Time Lord Fest down here in Tampa. I was actually the first convention I went to Doctor Who wise was actually Ken Spivey, who did one in Orlando, and he invited me to do a panel. And I was like, this was my very first panel. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. And met quite a few people. And the thing is that if you know anything about Doctor Who, the panel that was chosen and selected was Doctor Who and vampires.
Huh.
Yeah. That was the face I made too. I was like, wait, there's only really truly been one episode at all at that time. But at that point, the Vampires of Venice had come out as well, which technically they weren't vampires. So I'm like, okay, so I've got this one episode to talk about. I've got an hour to do it. Why don't we just show the episode of State of Decay, and that would be great, and then they'll understand the vampires. So I sat down, I did my thing, I talked in length, and I actually did something that I thought was kind of weird now thinking about it. I actually turned to my fellow panelists, and I said, I apologize if I was sputtering and stuttering, but this is my first panel. I had no idea about the topic. I mean, there was only one episode of Doctor Who, and and they turned to me and go like, we thought you knew what you were talking about. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I was just like, I winged the whole panel, and they go, yeah, we did too. So
well, here's a clue. Most panels I've been on, we all wing it anyway, so
exactly.
It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, when I go to a panel, it's all about the fun. It's all about geeking out. So
exactly,
it's just basically picking a topic that you can run an hour with. So
there you go. And Christian Basel, Russell Allen wants to know, is that a biblical spice?
Yes.
Okay, now we've got that.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but okay.
Do I need to go back and review the video here? And Brian is now super British. Oh dear.
There you go.
Oh dear.
Oh, I think it was my impersonation. I think I don't know.
Everyone's doing the person does the worst imitation of me is me. Cindy Kemp wants to know, where did the Cyberman leave his spaceship? Near a parking meteor.
And, love you, Cindy.
And yes, both of us do. And don't miss the Dark Mistress's question. What Dark Mistress question did I miss?
Oh, you better not.
No, I'm going back right now looking
You will
for
be
it.
spanked, and other things will happen
Oh,
to
then
you.
forget it then. I'm moving
You
on.
might want to find that question.
What did I miss?
Oh God. Okay, maybe I should help you too because I do have
Yeah,
access.
please do. Please do.
When did this? Hello.
That afterwards.
I think the two rooms merged together somehow. Congrats on your growth of your show. Oh, I better finish that sentence. I said, congrats on your growth, my altar boy.
This is the nighttime show, though.
I'm looking for a question.
Okay, well, hold on.
Oh, do I get a smooth, direct, in the mic, smooth talk of love? Okay, hang on.
Oh, that must be late. Oh, I see it now. It's just below where I'm at. So
yes,
anyway,
yeah. Hang on.
Anyway, we'll answer the question.
Yeah, I know. Okay,
the Dark Mistress implores you, and thank you, Comics and More New Jersey, for sharing this video. We do appreciate it.
Oh, my Dark Mistress, absolutely anything for you. I would actually share Michaela Japes popcorn with you anytime.
There you go.
Boom, chicka, wow, wow.
Oh, wow.
Now, here we go. And Willow Schuyler, I don't think you'd take this question if it were anyone but her.
Okay.
Is it Christian's ego, or is he becoming more like the face of Bo every time he's on?
Okay, we can get a close up of the camera. Make my head bigger.
I was going to say, if you want a close up,
probably, yeah. Shut it. Stop it right there. No, and no.
Now, Cindy Kemp has a very good question, and I think it's useful for everyone who's trying to cultivate a Facebook page.
Okay.
And I will say that Christian's been very helpful to me in helping me grow my platform because he's given me some very good tips, some of which I've actually followed. Go figure.
Yes, they work. But the question is, do they work?
Yeah, they do work. They do work. But she wants to know, how ddid you collect 50,000 followers?
Somebody left them, and I picked them up, and I put them in my pocket, and then we just said, "Let's go, follow me."
There you go.
Like I said, Cindy, this has been an ongoing thing. I think there's an impression, because we've only started the podcast a couple of years ago, that people were thinking that's where everything started. And I said, no, it didn't really start there. It started 8 years ago with me taking the TARDIS and going around. So I guess if there's anything to be impressed about, maybe about a couple things. One is you don't give up on whatever you're doing. You just keep going. And you have to remember, if it's something that, if it's something that you're not doing for the money, you're doing for fun, then enjoy it the way it is there. The second thing is, I could probably say I try to reinvent myself, meaning, like, let's say for the Traveling TARDIS, it was just more than just taking it around to Home Depot. Then I took it to Disney, then I took it to Universal, and then I would take it to places with cosplayers and conventions. And I think that's where, technically, before we even mention and coin the phrase become part of the legend, is where everything started, because everybody was, at one point, I would literally have people come up and go, I want to, when I started doing this, like at MegaCon, when I went to MegaCon for the first year, I was asking people if they could take a picture of the TARDIS with me. A couple years later, now there were people asking me if they could get a picture of the TARDIS. So everything had changed out there, because it just became its own identity. It became its own thing. But I think it also has a deeper root, because a lot of people like it because the doctors have taken picture with it. So they feel like there's a connection with it to other people, to other places, to other things. And now it's just become the icon of what we do. It is the Mickey Mouse of Disney. Without it, there was no start, and hopefully there'll never be an end.
Well, and I think you touched on a very interesting point, a really important one too, that it's clear from the way you run your show, from the way you run your Facebook page, that you are not primarily in this for the likes. You're not in it for any sort of real profit. You're in it for the joy. And I think people can sense that. I think people dig that.
I think I think the likes kind of followed because there was something about Little Boy Blue that was that connected people. And I didn't even realize that, this, to me, when I was going and like doing it for a couple of years, I was just like, well, what are you people talking about? And it's like, oh yeah, well, Peter Davison had touched it, or David Tennant has touched this. So there was actually one time I won't say who, but there were a couple of cosplayers who started the hashtag, and I guess we can start it now. TARDIS cleavage. They would literally take the TARDIS, put it in there, and I would take a picture. And those pictures have not seen the light of day. But I meant, I think it's just a connection now. And if you go to any convention now in the Southeast and say the words, traveling TARDIS or something like that, so, I think people know what you're talking about. That's the scary part. People will actually know what it is and what it represents, and they try to become part of what we've established.
Well, I think it's great. I think it speaks well of what you have built. Your brand. We talk about branding.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about persistence and doing everything for the right reasons here at Rising Tide. And I think that's just a big part of why you are as successful in this as you are. Sarah says there are more people watching on YouTube than there are liking, for sure.
Yeah, what's all that about?
Yeah, come on, people. No, if you are enjoying this show at all, whether you're watching on Facebook, give this video a like and maybe share it on your page. I don't make any money off of it, near as Christian, so it's all good. And if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel.
In fact, when I come on your show for never mind the furthermore, I'll offer it tonight. A like for a like. So for those of you who are just joining us for the first time, if you've got a page or something you want me to follow, if I haven't already and you haven't followed my stuff, go ahead and put the link in and I will follow it. If you're on a Facebook page, go ahead and put your link in. I'll follow it. But you have to follow the traveling TARDIS. That's the output. But I meant that's how the Rising Tide works, and that's something that I learned from Mr. Brian K. Morse there, that we work together and we rise together. So if it wasn't for Brian, I wouldn't understand that philosophy, and I understand it now, which I greatly indebted for.
Oh, thank you. We couldn't have a better advocate for it than you, I think. Cindy Kep says, where is the most interesting place you took a TARDIS picture aside from the cleavage? Probably.
Well, there's some pictures that have been, there have been some fun ones. I really have to go through it because there's thousands of pictures now that just, I guess for a better, I'll give you a good story of one time that I took a picture of it. They were doing a Florida SuperCon.
Okay.
There were two celebrities. One was Eric Roberts, who played the Master in the TV movie, and then the other person was Paul McGann. Paul knew about the traveling TARDIS. He enjoys it. He geeks out every time he sees it out there. In fact, he's I got it over here. I'm going to show you. Well, I guess that will lead into another story. I guess it's but if you notice that there's no bottom. That's another story too. But I'll stay with the one story. Paul, I wanted to take a picture with Paul, and I had this great idea. And I said, Paul, I had an idea, I should say. I don't know if it was great. I said, Paul, Eric's sitting right there. And at that time, there was nobody in their line at that moment. They had just gotten out of the panels. Everybody came up, did their thing, and they were just sitting together. Nobody was coming up. And I just said, Paul, this would be great if you and Eric would fight over the TARDIS. And Paul was going, oh, yes. Oh, that would be a great idea. We just got to get Eric to do it. Now, Paul is a cheerleader for the traveling TARDIS. He's a big advocate, or at least when I see him, he's always loves to see the traveling TARDIS. But Eric goes, I don't know if I want to do it. He was just not into this and go, come on, just this one shot. So he gets Eric out of his seat, and Paul is in there fighting over the TARDIS. There is a picture out there on the traveling TARDIS of those two fighting over the TARDIS. But Eric was like, oh, yeah, I don't want that. But Paul had to do some convincing, and I was so happy, and I appreciate it. And I posted it out there. It was one of my top 10 favorite pictures I've got.
That's fantastic. That is funny. And speaking of funny, Cindy Kep brings it as usual. What did the Sontaran take on holiday? Sontaran lotion.
Cindy, do you just have a book?
She told the
Doctor Who fun.
this morning. Oh, and thank you, Heather, Ellen, and Lacey Lemke for sharing this broadcast. We love you, all you guys. No, she revealed her secret this morning of her great humor source. She Googles clean humor, then the subject.
Okay.
Yeah. So the fact that she
I'm
goes
not
to that
taking
much
her-
effort, Lord
I'm
love
not
her.
going to do it. I'm not going to take her thunder away, but I just want to know how she did it. So if she's doing it that way, cool.
All right. And most excellent. Grant Lankard, glad you're here. And Sarah says, congrats on the growth of your show, my ultra boy.
You better show my show. I just blot out the words of your show. Just say congrats on your growth.
Yeah, really. Yeah, we'll mute that later.
Sure,
Let's see. And Bill Sarton, glad you're here. And Cindy Cap, do you have future plans for TARDIS picks in odd places, or do you just?
If we can just get out there, I would do it.
I was going to say, or do you plan a lot of this stuff, or like with the Paul McGann, Eric Roberts thing, is it just like all of a sudden it's like, dang, that would make a great photo op there?
In the first days that I did it, and this is actually a progression you can go from each year of albums. It was when I first started off, okay, pose with the TARDIS, but and everybody would stand with the TARDIS, take a picture, and that would be the end of it. Then I started to notice something, and the way that I started to tell people, especially cosplayers, instead of saying, let me get your picture with the TARDIS, it would actually tell me your story with the TARDIS.
Nice.
And I would let them act out. I said, no, don't pose. Yeah. And I would actually not turn down, but if they just did an unnatural pose, like, okay, here's the TARDIS, all that, I would say, no, I'm not going to take the picture. I would say, tell me your story. Tell me your cosplay story. And I'm like, what would your character do with the TARDIS? And then you would see that people would actually start to geek out because now their inner geekdom interacted with what the TARDIS was. And I would actually explain in some cases, it's like, your character now has all of time and space in that little blue box. How would your character interact with it? And then they would just go completely nuts. And what you see is what we got. Also, Halloween Horror Nights.
Yeah.
Always fun. When I first started out there, I would take pictures with people, and they kind of got to the point where they're not cast members. They're going to hate me for not knowing the name, but Disney has cast members. They have something else. I forgot what it was.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, they have another name for
them. Yeah.
The
actors who are like portraying the Disney characters,
right? And some of them are friends of mine. Mm-hmm. And I would post like, I'm thinking about going to Halloween Horror Nights, and next thing I know, on my PMs, I'm getting everybody's schedule. Like, I'm going to be here at 3:30. I'm going to be here at 4:30, so I have to go hunt my friends down because they want to get a picture with the TARDIS.
Oh, you poor man.
Yeah, it's just like, okay.
Well, that's funny.
I guess I'm not going on that ride at that time. So, but this is what I live for now. This is what I love. This is what I enjoy to do. There are days I would just love to go through places and just take pictures with it.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. BrianRodman.com would like to know, what is your dream place to take the TARDIS?
I would love to take it to the motherland, London.
There you go.
And actually, I hate Melanie because she actually got to take it. She was on a business trip before the COVID thing hit, and she took it to London. She actually took it with a picture of it at Stonehenge and a couple other places. But I really want to go. If it were my dream, it would actually meet its home. It would go to the BBC. It would go to Big Finish Studios. It would go to be where it all started. I would take 2 or 3 weeks off, spend it in the UK, and just nonstop until the memory card on my phone went out. And even then I would dump all the pictures on Facebook and take more pictures because I would love to see it in the motherland. I would love to see as many people, especially now with all the podcasters and my friends who are in the UK, they get a chance to become part of this.
Yeah, that would be great. Now realizing, I'll one up you on this one. Realizing you have a TARDIS.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, part of that is time.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I've been asked that too. Where would you take a TARDIS if you had it? I'd go back and I'd make a 1-week trip every year. It would start in November 1963. I'd have a DVR with me. And I would solve the problem of those erased tapes.
Oh, and you would move to Nigeria, apparently. Where they're finding all the episodes
ranks, the whole thing, leave clues for everything. Question from Carl Witzman. Will Mr. Peter be back sometime with his search for perfection?
Mr. Peter. Mr. Peter. Oh my God, Peter who? Oh my God! Yes, Carl. I almost forgot. Peter.
Yes.
If you get a chance, go to the YouTube channel. It's called Peter. Oh, geez, now I got it. Hold on.
Okay.
Peters. But my friend Tim Trelaw.
Yes.
This was during the time when
Subscribed.
this was the time. Actually, it seemed to be in enjoyment in conjunction, because I think we were trying to get you to 100. I think Ted Davies we were trying to get to 100,
Right. Yeah, I remember that.
and Tim Trelaw, who does the voice of the Third Doctor. He just started a series called Peter. Yeah, let me go ahead and find it so people can join
Oh,
up.
go for it. And
Yeah.
that was a great campaign. I was very grateful for that campaign because Ted broke the 100 mark first. I was next, and I think Peter was right behind me, and he was stuck at when I got there. He was at 99.
Yeah, he just could not get over the hump, and I was just like, okay.
Yes, he did. I was the 100th.
You were the 100. Good.
I was the 100th that got him over.
Okay.
So I said, I got here just in time. Here I come to save the day.
On my behalf of my friend Tim Trelaw, if you get a chance, I'm putting it. Oh, it won't.
Yeah, that's kind of changed. I think it's changed in StreamYard recently.
No, I just put it in there. Hang on.
Okay.
Yeah, I just. Oh, there it goes. Okay, finally. I don't know why. But there's his YouTube channel if you're going to sign up. It's a very, very easy.
Okay,
Sarah goes, Peter.
Here, I'm going to scroll past, and we are way.
Yeah,
there we go. That's okay. That's okay. There we go. I got it.
There you go. Okay. Oh,
all right.
It's just
no me.
Oh, it's a great show. Stop. And Sarah goes, Peter, what? Drank. Okay.
Yeah. I about said, hey, Christian, you go ahead. You go look for your No, I stopped myself. I finally got a filter, but I think I burned it out already. But anyway, keep vamping. So I'll go back to where I was. Oh, here we go. I found it. Michaela, I knew you'd like this. The legend has grown. I like growth.
Yeah.
And here we go. Bill Sarden 76 on YouTube.
I was looking for my sonic screwdriver to go with the joke, but it was no.
I bet you are.
Yeah, that was all.
The trick is to let somebody else want to look for it. But anyway, I just showed my friend Laura her very first Doctor Who episode earlier tonight, and I bet that Brian knows which episode. I showed her #The Ultimate Ginger.
Oh,
yeah.
We did an episode. It was just last week. We did an episode called The Starter Kit for starting the new year to get your friend, or if we were telling people, hey, if you got a friend, this is what I love doing in the panels.
Yeah.
But this was the frequently asked question. It's just like, where do I start? And I usually say Rose by some chance, because I think we all started at the reboot. But my episode to go to, if you were to pick an episode and say, I want to convert this person who may not know Doctor Who, and I said Vincent and the Doctor, because it is the best of everything Doctor Who. It's got the emotion, it's got the sci-fi, it's got the monsters. Yeah. It has Vincent Van Gogh, which is a nice little experiment in going into mental issues, which we wouldn't see in previous Classic Who, and nothing about Classic Who, but it was just something they'd never toyed with, because RTD, according to him, wanted, if Doctor Who Classic is the mind, then RTD brought in the heart, and he wanted to more Buffyize it, meaning that there would always be that sci-fi element, but it would be more of, it would be in nature of a heart, the heart of it. So so that's the last episode we did, was the starter kit. So if anybody wants to check it out, go over and then try an episode there.
Please check it out. Legend of the Traveling TARDIS is on, its page here on Facebook, also on YouTube. Please check it out and give that show a like and subscribe to that channel. It helps. Yeah. And Sarah, talking about your growth. Ooh, me too. Michaela says, Michaela started. Now Sarah says, me too, Michaela. Glorious.
Just put Sarah, Michaela, Jabe, and me in a room, and that'll be heaven. There you go.
Yes. And now we got Trevor Hawkins wants to be there too. Glorious. Then Christian died, which is one of the the morning phrases.
Yep, that's yeah.
Let's see. Oh, here we go.
Generated.
Cindy Kemp asks, what happens when the Doctor goes back in time and meets himself? It's a paradox.
There you go.
I love it. And Trevor Hawkins, his was Tom Baker too. I think that was the way for a lot of, especially of us older fans, because we had, like you said, we had PBS back in the day, and that was the. I know that I saw it in the mid late 70s out of Boston, and they had the John Pertwee episodes, all the ones they had available at the time. But Tom Baker was the first one that. Well, no, I take it back. They tried syndicating Baker in the early 70s with the Howard Da Silva voiceovers, and those were nice. But the voiceovers were kind of written on the level of like a Saturday morning cartoon. And now the Doctor is going to meet his enemies.
And he played a wonderful Benjamin Franklin, so I can't.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I love Howard Da Silva. What a great, great voice. Michaela J says, I watched the Doctor Who with the Stone Angel Demon things, and just last week, Andy was watching it, and there was a scary thing on it.
Okay.
I'm sure I didn't read it with the proper drama.
Pretty much every episode of Doctor Who, there was a scary thing on it. So
that's true.
You're going to have to narrow it down for me on that one.
Yeah, well, Carl Witzman did. That was Blink, probably.
That was probably Blink, yeah. And I tell that was the one thing we challenged in the starter kit, because everybody at that time when Blink came out, everybody was saying Blink should be the gateway drug, and I said, how? That is a Doctor Light episode, so it would be my best friend Patty Hawkins, who does the hosting for GalaxyCon. He said it's kind of like having somebody having a birthday cake. Then all of a sudden you just see a candle pop out. That's the only thing you get. It's just like, trust me, this was a delicious cake. And I was like, and I'm paraphrasing it, but I think the sentiment still applies. It's just like, wait a minute. You want me to be introduced to Doctor Who, but I'm only seeing our Angels and Sally Sparrow, which is a great episode. Don't get me wrong. I mean,
it's one of my favorites. Yeah,
but it's to introduce you to Doctor Who. Yeah. I just can't see it there. I remember there was some kind of like I forgot. There was a Doctor Who panel in South Florida, and it was people people came up to the stage. They would introduce themselves and they would say how they converted somebody into becoming Doctor Who. And this guy had set up the whole premise as a date almost. And he was going like, I lowered the light level. I turned on the TV. We sat down on the couch. And then I turned to her head and said, and I could not help it. And I didn't miss a beat. I said, as soon as he said it on stage, I go, here's my sonic screwdriver. And everybody in the audience lost it. And I thought the guy was going to kick my ass. He turns around, walks up to the panel table, and he puts out his hand and shakes mine.
Oh, but we all know they have 3 settings. But anyway,
that's true.
Sarah says, I know nothing of Doctor Who, but I'm here completely clueless yet loving it. Loving this. Sarah, check with your if you can get your local TV stations, if you can pick up WILL TV out of Champaign-Urbana. At one point they were running Doctor Who on Sunday nights.
If you want to do it for free, Pluto TV.
Oh, that's true. Pluto
TV.
Which is downloadable.
They have one channel just for Doctor Who. Now, the only problem is, it's not really a problem, but most of it's going to be classic.
Right.
It's commercials, and you don't get to pick the show. I meant free Doctor Who and classic. I don't mind the commercials and whatever you want to show. It's not like there's a dud in the bunch in the classic Who for me.
True.
But if you just want to watch Doctor Who, and it's random, so you may get the 4th Doctor, you may get the 2nd Doctor, you may get the 5th Doctor. But if you want your Doctor Who fix and you don't, you want to save the money, go to Pluto TV, Pluto TV, and see that. Yeah. Or if you want to mind, BritBox is the best way.
There you go. And if you have any questions about Doctor Who, Christian and I stand available, ready to over-explain it to you.
Yeah, exactly.
And she's a Sarah Jane too, by the way.
Aww.
Yeah, there we go.
That's
And
exciting.
if only you had a robot dog now, darling. Anyway, Cindy Cap says, William Hartnell, the first episode ever. No, I'm not that old. I am. Within a decade, but no, Netflix when they were still mailing out discs. Now that alone ages us. Back in the days when AOL would be like having a disc in every comic book and magazine on the planet. So yeah. Now Cindy Cap has another great question here, as usual. Do you ever cosplay any Who characters?
I've actually body shaved myself out of cosplay, but I did one time a long time ago. Bought a Seventh Doctor ? There was actually a store called 17 Enterprise 1701 here in Florida. It's changed names. I think it's now called Sci-Fi City.
Okay.
But I just remember Doctor Who stuff was eclectic back then. It wasn't like abundant now where you can just go on a shelf or go on Amazon and find it.
Yeah.
It was like very rare. And I saw the Seventh Doctor sweater. And I was a poor boy, but I went ahead and bought it. It was like $35 at the time. It was a good deal at that time. But I got the sweater, and anytime there have been a few times I've cosplayed in my life, but for the most part, I just don't do it. I don't have a passion. I just, I hate myself looking in the mirror in those cases, and that's just me. I'm not, I don't body shame. I don't believe in any of that. That's just like Kara Nelson said. That's BS. Mm-hmm. That's a passion. That's a love, and you should always respect it. And I don't care what you look like. If you enjoy and love and appreciate the love that I do, and you want to share it in a way that you're going to wear a fez and a bow tie on your podcast, then by all means. I think that's what hooked me on to you. I was so close when I first saw you there. But I did do Seventh Doctor. I actually, a long time ago, bought a jacket for the Ninth Doctor. I just hadn't had the heart to put it on and try it. But I might do it one day. I do have the Sonic for him. But
there you go.
I just never had the passion. And I have a friend, ever check her out. It's Weird Woman Cosplay. Her name is Lauren Anager. And if you want to really talk about a love story, and I don't mean like in the romantic way, I meant just friendship all in. I didn't know she liked Red Dwarf as much as I did.
Oh, wow.
And I was being invited to a cosplay convention, and Garrett Palmacher was ripping on me going, "You're going to a cosplay convention?" I said, "Yes." Without cosplaying. I'm like, "Yes, yeah. I'm just going to promote the radio show." And he goes, "No, you're going to cosplay." So I cosplayed, and I said, I picked out Rimmer. I got the H and the spirit gum and everything.
Nice.
And I didn't want to do it. And Lauren Edinger, love her to death. She goes, "If you go as Rimmer, I will go as Lister."
Oh, nice.
And I said, I'm not even sure. She goes, "I love you. You're going to do this."
Yes.
And she did. And it was a great time. She actually cosplayed as Lister, and we had pictures together. And it meant a lot to me because she said she loved me and she wanted me to do this, and she supported me. Not only that, at the time, Avengers Endgame came out. Now, here's anybody who knows any Red Dwarf geekdom.
Yes.
Because I came up with something silly. She had 2 Ziploc bags. One of them had the ashes from the Avengers, and the other one had the ashes from Red Dwarf for the people. So we were carrying around dead bodies. And she would occasionally open up the zipper and start eating everybody's bodies.
Oh, no.
Just like in the TV show. So but we were just funny. Like... And
that's great.
Yeah, no, it was just like, it's just nice that somebody... I hope everybody who tries to do a passion, who gets to the point where they're... their imposter syndrome or their anxiety takes over and says, "No, you can't do that." I hope they have a Lauren who comes up and says, "You can do this." And not only that, but I will do it with you. Mm-hmm. So
that's love. That's great.
That's love beyond. I'm like,
I hear you. Cindy Kep says, "What do you call a time traveling cow?" Dr. Moo.
Let's just quit. We'll just have Cindy.
We'll just have Cindy do it. Got to hell with us. Yeah. Who cares about us? And Carlene says her first doctor was Peter Davison.
Oh, and please take the second D off. I actually called him Davidson. He gave me he razzed me for it.
I bet. Oh, I bet.
Davis'
And
son.
hi
Oh,
Heather. Hi Heather. And and let's see. Here we go. Okay, here we go. Trevor Hawkins asks, so total deep dive question, but tell me the truth. Wouldn't Class have been a lot better with the grown-up kids from the Sarah Jane Adventures? Class was an attempt at a spin-off of Doctor Who from years ago.
Wow.
I never saw any of them. It didn't really sound appealing to me.
Okay. I will actually revamp this.
Go for it.
In a couple of questions, because we did this in the podcast. Two questions. Whose story is this, and why is it called Class?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm asking you. Think about it. Well, why do they call it Class? Whose story is it? Because usually there's always a focus on somebody who's a story. I mean, if it's Star Wars, it's Anakin and Luke's story. So whose story is this?
I would assume it would be the protagonist from the school itself. What, am I wrong? Again, I've never seen an episode of it.
Oh, okay. No. I'm sorry. Okay, that's fine. Those are the two questions I asked because
that's a good question too.
I was going like, okay, if this is a class, because the whole idea was it took place at Coal Hill School, I think. One of the things I think they had so much potential on, and I think this is what they kind of made it into Torchwood meets Saved by the Bell, kind of in a weird way, or Degrassi High for a better term. And it was just, it just didn't work because the characterizations were just so horrible. So hear me out.
Okay.
Hear me out there. I think they should have focused on why they called it Class, because Quill, who ran it, they should have been, when the doctor kind of exiles her to the students to take care of them, because the doctor leaves her and goes, listen, you're going to serve out your term. You killed somebody. But these kids are great. Mm-hmm. I think that should have been a class. They should have been learning from each other. And I think there should have been a focus where Quill and each individual student gets a learning.
Yeah.
And the whole purpose, what the 12th Doctor says to Quill is, it's class. So they should have been learning from each other. Right. Instead, what we got was this convoluted mass of it was just, there were some great one-off stories, but I mean, it should have been like Torchwood in its first year. It should have been something where we established the characterizations, and Miss Quill should have been the focus. She should have been the story. Mm-hmm. And they should have started learning off to each other. So when they finally get to the very end, they are fighting the big bad. And now Quill has kind of taught the students, and they've taught her. Mm-hmm. And there would be a big lesson at the end where instead of her trying to run away, she decides, you know what, I think I need to stay. And I think that's where it should have been. And if that was the case, I think we would have been talking about Class Year 2 and Year 3. That's just my case. Kathleen Kelly, I think, did an excellent job for Quill. I think they just focused too much on her and took away from or they focus on weird stories with the students, and they should have been learning from each other the whole time. Plus, the writing just made the students look like, at some point, my philosophy is if you want the characters killed off, right, it's this, you shouldn't do this. And I was like, you know what, kill the kids. I don't care. The only person I cared about was Quill. Yeah. And it just didn't seem, it had a focus, and it just went, and in the end, it was even saying we're not even going to use, I'll spoil it. We were not going to use classic monsters from Doctor Who, and spoilers, the ending had the Weeping Angels. I'm like, okay, this was a train wreck. Now, some people liked it. Yeah. I just think it was just, for whatever reason, I just think it was unfocused.
Well, they had a great liked it, or they'd have brought it back.
It's been brought back in Big Finish.
Yeah, I've seen it in Big Finish.
I just don't do it. I just, and it's nothing fault to anybody who was on the show acting wise. Right. I just think the storyline really went into a direction. They went in one direction, then all of a sudden you're going like, oh, okay, and that's when you leave the track, derail from the track. It wasn't good.
Yeah, and we're an hour and 5, Christian. And comics more interesting. Okay, we'll touch base in a half hour. And now also Sarah goes smooth. Talking the mic.
Thank you.
Love it. And thanking Trevor as well. And Michaela Jade has come up with a kind of like, which is your favorite child question? What was your favorite interview to date?
Oh, God. Oh, jeez.
Oh, mine was this one. So anyway,
I can't. They were all fun. They were all different. They all have their own unique ways. I don't. Yeah, I know it's a cop out. I know I'm just going like, yeah, whatever. It's just like you don't understand. It's kind of like comparing all my friends. Which one is the better one? And I can't.
right.
I can't say Sarah is better than Michaela Jade, is better than Brian, is better than Mr. Hawkins, is better than Carlene, is better than Carl. I can't. You're all different. You're all wonderful in your own right, and so are the interviews.
Mm-hmm.
So I really can't pick out one. They were all different. I appreciated everybody who would even give me the time of day. Another imposter syndrome thing that would come onto the show and think that I was worthy for an hour to give it. If you're gonna nail me down, I had to pick one. It's Katie Manning.
And
that woman lights up anything that she does. If you're gonna nail me down to one, it's. And I think there's a little bias because I hate going on Twitter, except for Katie. If I see Katie posting, that's the first thing I go to, because she just loves life. She is 100% real. She loves the fans, and I meant one of my favorite things, I think, as far as compliments, as far as people who have been in Doctor Who and came on my show. I asked her back and I said, Katie, you can come back anytime you want. You can promote anything you want. You're more than welcome to. And she said, and this was actually her second time, because she came back for Tim Treloar. We actually had her as a panelist.
That's right.
Talking to that one. And she goes, darling, I didn't come back because I'm promoting something. I came back because I had an awesome time on your show. And I'm like, God, my heart sank. So if I'm going to be biased in that way, picking an individual, it would have to be Katie. And I think everybody who I've interviewed would probably give the laurels to Katie Manning, because she's just wonderful.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Michaela Jade goes, ooh, hashtag TARDIS cleavage. And also,
yeah, I'm going to put you up for that.
Yeah, she was one of my first choices too. Sarah, you're next. And so find a fun thing. And this is good advice for anything you do of a creative nature. Find a fun thing that ties into your books and run with it, literally or not. Seriously, do it for the fun. Do it for the fun. Everything else.
If you do it for the money, you'll starve.
Yeah.
So you got to do it for something else, and
at least you'll get a reward for it that way.
Right. If your passion's not there, one of the things I've said when I'm working with other people, and I said, once it becomes work and it's no longer fun, I'm going to stop.
Yeah.
It's got to be fun, or else there's no point. If I ever get any lucrative things out of it, I'm a happy camper. I mean, that's just more plus. That means more people really see the fun that I have with it, like you've done in your show.
Yeah, exactly. Nick Tucker says, you have achieved an incredible level or reach. How do you credit that? How much is the depth of the fan base, and how much of it is the deftness of your platform management?
Jesus.
Question there, Nick. Well, really, you have to, I'll challenge you on this, Christian, that anyone could take your format, but there is something that you and Melanie do that makes it unique. Just like, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm all that, but there are people who have tried to directly copy what I do, particularly with Nevermind the Furthermore, but they can't do it. And I happen to know what that element is. But what do you, and a little bit, and I will say that it is me.
I think
there's something I do, whatever that is, that brings a unique flavor to the offering. Now, what do you think? Do you think that how much of, well, let me change that around. How much of it do you think is what you and Melanie bring to the show?
That's just a Melanie. She's a big hand to it. But one of the things I wanted to do when we first started out, in fact, I've been, when I oversee it, year 1 and year 2 are completely different shows almost. When I start with year 1, and I don't know if I mentioned this, I'm just having brain memory, and I've said this before overhand. I didn't want to do what other podcasts do, because at the time when the other Doctor Who podcasts were the majority, and that's not to down them at any cost. I think I said this earlier,
Sure.
but they were all doing classic Who.
Right.
They were all doing reviews of classic Who for the most part. And correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure you'll probably go to any like 3 podcasts where we're reviewing this. And I said, I want to step into the realm that has to separate me. So I think one of the questions, and this is a good question about as far as marketing is concerned, as far as being an author, an artist, a songwriter, singer, the question you have to constantly ask yourself is, what's separating you from the other guy? Yeah. Why are you something that I want to come to? Why do I want to buy what was it called? Frankenstein. No, what's the book you read?
Santastein.
Santastein. What makes Santastein different? There you go. You're gonna plug it.
Try and stop me.
Right, but I meant it's something different. It's something completely, and it's all Brian K. Morris trademark, meaning that it has a passion and a love from Brian, who knows the material, who puts it out there. And I think if I remember mistaken, you were like in a play and you wrote that or something like that.
It was originally a 10-minute play, and then when I wanted to write a book to follow up an ebook I'd written, I was like, well, how do I mine my first plot? And then I remembered I had this story that never got this play that never got accepted because of its irreverence towards the holiday, which shouldn't come as any surprise to anyone who knows me. But and then I found where I could develop it into a full blown book, and it does have, like, I appreciate your comments, because it was a labor of love, because I love the book Frankenstein to begin with. I love the Boris Karloff movies, Lon Chaney, etc., Christopher Lee, but it also has my odd sense of humor in it. So you're right. It's a passion project. It's a personal project.
Now, there's so many, and I'm not trying to down this. I'm not trying to avoid the question there, Nicholas. I don't want to say I don't know the answer, but I've done remarketing. I went to conventions. I went to panels, and people saw me that way. I went to getting a booth out promoting our podcast. The podcast has helped us out a great deal. It was a new direction. I was on other podcasts, but this one was specifically for the Traveling TARDIS, and that brought in a whole new dimension. So I guess trying to reinvent yourself, because I was on other podcasts. I think the last podcast I was on was Gallifrey Stands with my friend Ian Shaw. And the fun part about it is, before I ended up going to Hanging With after a while, but Ian and I he's in Britain and I'm here. So we kind of made it like a brothers thing, where he was the UK brother, I was the US. We would review something or interview something and or pick at something. And we had 2 different dynamics from across the sea, which was kind of cool. But unfortunately, I left because, and we left on good terms, just because it's a 5-hour difference. So if he had to book somebody, it would be if I was to do something like it would be like 1 PM now. I wouldn't be able to do it or something like that. Right. So we couldn't book it. But I think just had to kind of reinvent yourself. I don't know if, because the podcast was a reinvention of the Traveling TARDIS, even though I've been on other podcasts, but it still stuck to the core of everything started by the Traveling TARDIS, because I was actually asked, okay, you're going to pick a name for your podcast. Will that be different? I said, no, I have an icon already. Might as well just name after it. And then I wanted to pick a hashtag, which would be something to follow around as and become part of the legend, which when I first thought about it, I was like, oh, God, that's so lame. But it's brilliant. Well, it sort of developed, and it was like, yes, this TARDIS has a legend, and I'm not appreciating it. Yeah. And it has something that people want it now. People want to get its picture. People want to touch it. People want to reach it from the inside.
Wow.
Oh, the fun part about it, how it lost its bottom. There's actually a picture from SeaWorld.
Yeah.
There's a picture. I wish I could brought some pictures here. Have you ever been to SeaWorld in Florida or know about it?
I know of it, but I never got to go there.
Okay. I came up with the idea. I didn't think they would do it, but they did it. I was so impressed. There's a location where they have the pearl divers, right? And there's a glass section where the pearl divers go in the water, grab a clam or whatever, an oyster, bring it up. You would open the oyster, and the oyster would have a pearl inside. That's the gimmick that was going.
Right.
So I said, what if I put the TARDIS in the aquarium?
Nice. Oh
And
my
one
God,
of the
that's awesome.
swimmers was kind enough. She took the TARDIS, went down into the water. I took a picture of it, and the rest is history. Now, the thing is that the TARDIS filled with water.
Right.
And as soon as she came out of the water got into the TARDIS, was falling out, took the bottom.
Oh no!
Now, no,
funny.
don't despair, because I got the bottom.
Okay.
And I guess I can tell all the stories now, because they're all interconnected. Here is the bottom.
Yeah.
And I said that only doctors will sign the bottom. Only doctors, because I want to make all the doctors important to the doctor. So David Tennant, Colin Baker, Peter Davison, they've all signed it. Now, the reason why I'm bringing Paul McGann back is because I said, Paul, he was the first one to sign. I said, Paul, I want you to make the signature as small as you can, because I want to make sure all the doctors sign it. And look how big he signed it. And as soon as I made my grievance, I was going like, Paul, he goes, shh, my TARDIS. I'm like, you bastard. So now I got to make sure everybody else who follows suit has got to write smaller. And there's like barely any room for anybody, but I'm like, you know what, Paul? Yeah, it's your TARDIS. I'll take up to the concede there. How much credit is that? How much? I really. Nicholas, I really, if I knew the thing, I would package it. There have been things that I've been doing, but I guess getting my name out there, I've been going to the convention, small or big. It could be something as huge as MegaCon or something as small as a library, just to get your name out there and just to get attention. And if you accrue 5 people, that's 5 people who didn't know about you that are now following you, and a lot of people are really diehard. And they stick around. Anything I post, they're always liking, they're always appreciating. So it's one of those things that if the answer to the question is just not give up, find the opportunities and take them, because the only bad opportunity is a missed one. And it's, if you don't take a chance and try to explore where you can go, you're never going to get there. And it never hurts to try to, what am I trying to say? If you never ask the question, the answer will always be no. That's the method I've always followed. And especially when I bring in celebrities and guests or people who I think are a little bit hard to reach, I just flat out ask them. I do get over that's one of the ways I get over the imposter syndrome. Because at the beginning I was like, they're not going to come. I'm like, who am I? Who's going to spend time with me? Are you serious? And I think the very first guest that I've ever had to deal with, that I dealt with, was Simon Fisher Becker himself. And then after that, it got easier. Yeah. Because again, they can only say no. And you already had a no beforehand. Yeah. So
good answer.
I hope that's an answer.
No,
that's a really, well, it just seems like a big question, and it's hard to unpack because there's a lot. How do you get credit for that? How much management death base?
Well, plus, there's a lot of moving parts to that
question. Yeah, exactly. Too. Yeah, that's a better term.
Yeah, and I think also, the fact, like I said, that you bring something unique, your personality, your warmth to the picture, and also there was something else I was thinking of during that. You made an excellent point about don't be afraid to ask somebody who's at a higher level for help. Because like you said, the worst thing they can do is say no. And that's something I get occasionally when I'm asking somebody who's way above my pay grade to be a guest on this show. And usually what I get in reply is, I was waiting for you to ask me, you idiot, sort of thing. Another thing, and one more thing, and then we'll move on to the next statement, was, something I've mentioned a few times on my morning show, that I had somebody send me a video of somebody on YouTube and said, well, I want to be a YouTuber too. Would you watch this show and tell me all the things I should copy? And I said, no, I'm not going to watch it. You should watch it and figure out all the things he's not doing. and there's your niche.
Yeah.
If you can slide into
But
it.
but it's about you can apply this to anything. I remember going to my high school reunion, and there was a girl that I was very, very interested in, and I asked her just nonchalantly. I said, "If I had asked you back then, would you have done it?" She goes, "I always thought you were going to ask me." I'm like, "Are you kidding?" So the philosophy is, if you never ask, the answer will always be no. So I meant,
Exactly.
where were you? And people are going like, well, I don't want to. I don't want, be brokenhearted or rejection and stuff like that. But if you really think about it, is you are rejected amongst everything until you make the first step to do it. So
there you go. Good points, sir. Good points. Cindy Cap would like to know, what is the best way to negotiate with a Cyberman from a long way away? Now, she also has another question that maybe another one that you may find uncomfortable answering, but you often have made interesting Who-related folks on your show. Who would you like to have on the show next?
Oh, God.
Top 5. We'll make it top 5. I'll make it easy.
First of all, anybody who wants to be on my show. So,
hey, I've been on the show. My God, it's on my resume.
Okay, if I had a top 5, like I said, well, Tom Baker. And believe it or not, I don't even think I would have an interview. It would just be me sitting down there geeking out with Tom for 5 minutes and saying, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. That would be my start. There wouldn't be an episode, just me be started, but I would love to interview Tom because he's just wonderful. If I were to go down the line of the top 5, Peter Capaldi, because I always believed he was a fan of the fans, which is very rare in some cases for people in shows. But to the length, and I've got a story on that one too. But Peter Capaldi, I would definitely want Karen Gillan because she just seems like fun. Yes. Every time I've seen her in her interview, and I don't think she's making that up. I think she legitimately just wants to. I actually kind of equate her to a Katie Manning, where it's not. She's fun. She's not making it up. She's really there to have a good time. I don't know. Like I said, it's always one of those things where that would be my top 3. I guess we'll roll out the 5, but then the other 2 would be anybody who would want to come on.
Yeah, there we go. That's good. Now, Carl Witzman has a good observation here. Sounds like you've let the concept and show grow into what your fans would like. That's key.
That's also something about the first year that I did something, which I think, what do I want? I don't want to be the other guy. So what would I want to hear from my own show?
Right. Yeah.
So there were things that I was delving into, like the anti-bullying, the reviews. Of course, we had reviews, but it was just like, okay. And I wanted to have some fun stuff, like which I'm going to invite you soon. I'm trying to figure it out devious ways, but like the episode with the monsters.
Yeah.
Doctor Who versus the monsters. What if the Doctor had to fight off other monsters that weren't in Doctor Who, and how would he do it? And then we made it a little more fun. It was like we picked the Doctor, you picked the monster, but we got to pick the Doctor. Things like that. I think. It's got to be fun. Yeah. Again, once it starts to become work, which it does some days, it's just, but it's all about the process, and you're gonna hit or you're gonna miss a lot.
Yeah. But you hit more often than you miss,
trust me, I've missed.
I've had a couple too. No worries there, and no real confession. But like I've got on my wall right up here where you can't see it, but it says you miss all the shots you don't take. Exactly.
If you never ask, it will always be no.
Exactly. Michaela Jade says, making it about them, not you, is a huge marketing thing. It works every time.
That is correct.
It's true. And also in my case, at least, like I keep saying, the origin of the show started out with me and my inflated ego telling everyone how many books I've gotten and why they should buy it. And I got bored as hell after about 7 or 8 minutes. But then I started reading the comments. And that's when the show started becoming fun for me. So I like that. And now here's something you'll like. Sarah says, Christian, if you go to London without me, there's a cat of nine tails lashing coming your way.
Is that a threat? You know if it's you, Sarah. It's not a threat.
Yeah, that's true.
I like that there, but yeah, I wouldn't go to London without you. Why don't you take me, Sarah? There you go. I'll go
Take
with
him
you.
to London when you're done. But anyway,
Exactly.
and Sarah wants Michaela Jade wants pictures of that, and yeah. And also, don't forget this YouTube channel here that we were fighting over earlier. And
There's that one or that one, and that one.
yeah, there's like a whole line of them now, and we just got a comment dump here. So anyway, let's see. And
every time
Peter,
you say that, an angel gets its wings.
exactly. But it's a weeping angel is the problem. And Peter has 122 subscribers now.
Yeah.
That is great.
Oh, thank you, Michaela. I appreciate that. Thank you. He appreciates that too.
Sincerely. And here's an observation from Nicholas Tockard. Really excellent choice for an intro. I would have said for modern, who would be the girl in the fireplace?
There's no right or wrong answer. I don't. I think it's just something in there. I could start it out over there. Usually what I tell about the starter kit is not only that, but you probably want to know the person first. If it's somebody who likes action, I'm not going to give them Fireplace, Vincent and the Doctor, and Love and Monsters. I would probably find the three most action, see what they like.
Yeah.
And then try to match it up with episode, because you will find it somewhere in Doctor Who. If they like ghost stories, I'm going to throw in Hyde. I'm probably going to throw in the classic series like Ghostlight. I mean, you try to match. For me, it would be to try to match up. But if I had to pick one episode, say, Christian, you can pull up one episode on your phone you want to show your friend, I would probably pick Vincent and the Doctor. That would think a gateway track, but there's nothing wrong with it, Nicholas. I love Girl in the Fireplace too.
Oh heavens, yeah, that was awesome. And Carl Weston says City of Death was a great Tom Baker episode to introduce people. Oh yeah, seriously, that had and it was by Douglas Adams.
It was by Douglas Adams.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So yeah, now here we go. We've got two.
Did I ever tell you about that one too? I got to find it. I can't confirm the rumor, but Douglas Adams was to come up with an idea of a spaceship, and there was a budget crisis or something like that. Tell me this one. Tell our audience. Douglas Adams, if you don't know Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, he was also script editor and writer for Doctor Who. You wrote, no, it's Shada. I'm sorry, not City of Death. Shada. Shada. And there was a writer. This was in the mix of the writer's strike, and they were having budget issues with the BBC. So they asked Douglas Adams to come up with an idea of a spaceship, and he came up with the ultimate cheapest idea of a spaceship: make it invisible. So literally see the bad guy walking into the ship and walking out, and that's it. You don't even see the ship anymore. So I was like, my God, that's the brilliance of Douglas Adams.
That is genius.
That is the brilliance. So
that is genius. Now, Michaela Jade has two questions here. In 8 days, she gets cake for her birthday. What shall she do with it? Other than have Christian jump out of the center of it.
Next question, I'll tell her later.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, copy me in on that. And Christian, how did you meet Brian?
Did we meet at a convention?
No, I've never been.
We never met at a convention.
No, I
met you like in
virtual.
It was all virtual. I could have sworn I at least saw you like.
It might have been a virtual con. Well, it might have been a virtual con.
Oh, that's fine. Okay.
I'm trying to think, but.
I swear you were in one of somebody created something called the Book Tower.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever seen that. Essentially, it's a bunch of authors sitting around in a square table, and there's a big, huge, monolithic posters all like making a box, and they call this the Author's Tower. I think Amanda Bird, one of my friends, does that. But it grew attention, and all the authors would sit around in a circle around this tower, and that's how they would promote each other. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm Brian K. Morris, or I'm Christian Basel. Do you know a guy who wrote a Christmas story about Frankenstein? There's Brian K. Morris right there. I could just refer them over to you. So that's how that kind of worked out. But well, it may have been online, but who cares, man? As long as we got to know each other.
And we did. And
who cares how it starts?
I'm glad we do. I
sincerely.
Carly says you were talking about cleavage shots and you don't know what to do with your cake, Michaela. And let's see, and that doesn't look like a sonic screwdriver. Sarah observes. Nick Tockard says, "What about old school? I'd be torn between Ark in Space or Robot."
I kind of like Ark in Space more.
I do too.
I think it's better. nothing wrong with Robot, but if I had to pick, I would be Ark in Space because he does the Homo sapiens spiel in there, which is a brilliant speech. And plus, I love the Weirin, and I used to joke about it at conventions. It's like, if you want to cosplay any of the 70s monsters, Office Max has all your needs.
That's true.
For the green bubble wrap, and you just had to pay the green, and you were a
That's
Weirin.
true.
So that was it.
That is true. And Sarah's grateful that she wrote down Pluto TV. Thanks, Christian.
Yeah, you just download the app, and it's free, and you just have to scroll down a little bit, but find Doctor Who, and you'll watch the classic series for free.
There you go. Carlene says Netflix still mails out DVDs. I have one ready to mail back right now. Brian K. Morris, Rising Tide Publication. Bloodshot was great. Yes, I knew you would like that. Thank you. And Christian says Nicholas Stockard, all just aside, it is very hard for male body positivity to be accepted. That's true. And Dan,
you look great in the hat, though, so don't even try to rub that on me. You look great in that hat. I see it.
There you go. And Dan Hollifield of Stupid O'Clock. Glad you're here, Dan. Thank you for being here. With your Christian, with your voice, you could do a very decent Brian Blessed from the Colin Baker era.
Live.
And the thing is, that's not even my favorite quote from Flash Gordon is, "Oh, well, who wants to live forever?" I love that. And Carlene only has, it's a frugal Scotch. She only has one outfit, a Viking. So I tell my Star Trek cosplayers, Vikings are just earthbound Klingons. And let's see if we can get, and Rick Bradley loves Red Dwarf, definitely. And asks, what was your favorite episode?
Oh, my God. Oh, you know what? I guess I can pick this one. It was Crichton. It was a fabulous story. Believe it or not, how I got hooked on Red Dwarf was by total accident. A friend of mine lent me a video, a video player that I was playing. It was back then. I don't know if you remember, the three major networks went completely ape with 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Each one of them had their own thing. Ben Cross was in one. Michael Caine had another, and I think there was a third one. They just went. They had their own version. Well, my friend lent me a video so I could watch the Michael Caine version, which was really weird.
Yeah.
It had, I think it had Patrick Dempsey. It was just completely bizarre. Anyway, I let the tape run, and the show popped up out of nowhere. You know how you back then in the VCR days, you know how you record over something. Well, he recorded over something. He recorded over Red Dwarf, and it was the dog milk scene. And I thought it was the most brilliant thing I had ever watched at that time. I don't know if you remember the dog milk scene.
Vaguely, it's been ages since I
it's
Red Dwarf.
Yeah, he's drinking. Lister's drinking tea, and he asks Holly, which is the robot, the computer, goes, and the computer goes, yeah, we ran out of milk. Fresh and dehydrated. and then Lister's going, okay, so what are we using? He goes, emergency backup supply. We're using the dog's milk. He's just spits it right out. And the computer explains why dog's milk is better milk for everything. And one of the things he goes, when dog's milk goes off, it tastes exactly the same as it is when it's fresh.
Oh my God, that's right.
And the screen continued to do, and then there's a scene where they're going into the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And well, spoilers, they meet the girls, and the scene is classic. And Crichton, who is their first impression, who eventually joins the Dwarfers, hasn't figured out. I want you to see this. That's why I'm not even going to say this.
All right.
Hasn't figured out what is going on and thinks everything is normal. And the Red Dwarf team is kind of just sitting there in their own inactive way, explaining what just happened. And the robot finally gets it and goes, oh. But I don't want to tell you this because if you ever get a chance,
I will go back and watch that one day. I really will.
It was just hysterical. But I saw this on broken VCR tape. So I didn't even see the whole episode. I saw bits of it and chunks of it everywhere. It was just like, and I was hooked on the show. I could not figure out what it was. And I asked my friend, what was this? He didn't even remember. And it took me years to find Red Dwarf. And I finally found it.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, I remember Robert Llewellyn, who played the robot, was also on a show called Junkyard Wars.
I've heard about it.
Wars. Scrapyard Wars. There was an American version called Junkyard Wars that had various hosts like Henry Rollins. And I love the commercial because he had an attractive female as his assistant. And it was like some animated puppet or something was extolling the virtues of the show. And he goes, and I love the hostess. I find her beguiling. You know, that's like that's the whole time I heard the word beguiling. Carl Witzman said nobody saw more than one episode of Class, so don't feel badly.
I did. I had to review it. So
So Dan Hollifield, he said he has the whole series. It was okay, but didn't click as well as it could have done. And we have some great comments here that unfortunately Christian's got
if you want to read them real fast, and then
we will rip through them. Let's see here. Let me get back where I was. Holy, I was remembered for Halloween as a kid, says Nick Tucker. Only one person got it, but they dumped their whole bowl in my bag. And Carly says, oopsie, fingers move faster than mine. Davison, I met him face to face at Visions Con in Chicago. Rick Bradley, good to see you here, superstar. I love Red Dwarf. That's one of the best shows out there. What was your favorite episode? We got that. And let's see. And Trevor Hawkins was kind of the school itself was the star, the same school Hartnell started at. And Nick Tucker said, I started with Pertwee, but Baker was my doctor. I think that is why Eccleston is my current favorite modern doctor. He felt like PTSD Baker, which kind of ironically fits how the canon went.
Yeah.
He
played it well. He played it very well.
Super. And I'm glad he's coming back to Big Finish. Nick says, or Cindy Cap says, Nick, my favorite doctor is Eccleston for that reason. He was very relatable. And let's see. Here we go. And Cindy Cap was, what is the opposite of K9? Kit 10. I got it. And Cindy Cap further says, your show is very interesting. I often catch it on the rerun. It's very encouraging and interesting.
Thank you.
Isn't that great? And here's a heavy question from Michaela Jade, I think we'll close out with this one. Is there a moment, and let's say it's from the show, your show, Legend of the Traveling TARDIS, that you'll remember till you meet your grave? And Anthony Bovo, welcome to the show. Glad to see you here.
What does it say about the Fifth Doctor? To some people, small things in life is what life is all about. There's not going to be a moment that pops in my head. There've been so many wonderful moments in my life. Going to conventions, starting the radio show, being on other panels, being just geeking out Doctor Who. It doesn't even matter, it seems, anymore. And being part of this new family I call the Rising Tide, I call Geek Insider, I call, by the way, happy birthday, Joe McHale. I almost forgot about that. Today's his birthday, right?
Happy birthday, Joe Dog.
Joe Dog, you got it. But it's...
Love you, Christian Brian, heading out for tonight. Sarah, be well. Love you, honey.
You better PM me or I'll come and get you with the cattails. But feel better, Sarah. Love you. And it's I don't want to cop out. There's so many moments. Which one do you choose?
Yeah, and you're building more with every week that passes.
Yeah, exactly. And there's just when I think I can, I can't get better, here comes something else out of nowhere. And changes the dynamic of things. So yeah, it's a cop-out answer. I'm sorry, but yeah, if you view the prism of my life in the last 8 years, all the great things, all the tragedies, all the heartbreak, all the things that have gone on, there's some things I might have changed, but
or some you may have to live down a little.
Yeah, some things I might have to live down, but I'm here, I'm happy, and I'm going to keep going. So I think it's a moment like this where I can just get into the solace that the friends that I've acquired over time, no matter who you are, love you always. And you'll always have my support no matter what. If I can try to give, I can give it. And it was the same thing where somebody was asking me, I don't know if it was you, Brian, but somebody was asking me, it's just like, I've always been afraid to ask you being on my show because I never think, and I said, that's the lesson I'm trying to conveying you. If you don't ask me, I don't know. The thing is, I won't say no. I just say it might not be the right time. Let's work it out. So I tell people, if you've got a podcast, like Ted has had me on, Brian has had me on, You've had me on the Dastardly Dingoes. What I mean, Brian.
Yeah, the other Brian.
Don't ever, again, don't ever think the answer will always be no, unless you ask. Take that chance, because you never know when the moment will pass and it will never come again. And I will say to you, you can ask me anything, please. You'll be surprised sometimes what people will answer if you give them a chance.
Exactly. Well said, sir. Well said. Well, I'm glad you said yes to being on here, sir.
My honor.
The pleasure is mine, and believe me, we will have you back again, my friend. But for right now, I think we should close out the show. And first of all, let me put you in the spotlight here and tell everybody how they can stay in touch with you.
Well, everybody pretty much has already been my friend.
They haven't figured it out by now.
So they don't know right now. It's just like
40 minutes have gone to waste. Yeah.
The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS.com, the Facebook page. You can always reach me out on Facebook, Christian Basel. I meant, if you need anything, I will try to reach back. I might not be intently coming back to you. Maybe I'll be busy, or I might have read something but I just can't respond to you, or just might be busy at the time that you asked me when you would come on the show. But the first thing to do is to reach out to me. So, but if you want to check out the stuff that I've done, the best place is either to go to the Facebook page or the website, the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS.com. And yeah, be well, be safe. Always take the chances that you are given, because if you don't, sometimes those chances will never come back. The things that you regret in life will be the things you never tried to do. And never ever think that you're anything less than the best of what you are. Never think that somebody is always better than you, that you can't take the moment just to say, hey, can I have you on my show? Can I spend time with you? Or, even better, some cases, just asking them, do you have a moment? I found out the hard way that sometimes I asked somebody, I forgot who it was, but they were in anime. I never watched anime. I turned to her and I said, listen, I've never watched anime. I've heard your name. Can you tell me a little bit about you? Because I might be interested. And she totally geeked out. I still don't remember the show. I think I was kind of blanked out at the time because she was so geeking out, and I still didn't understand anime. But the whole premise is that you don't know until you ask, and you will never know unless you take a chance. And the answer will always be no until you make the first move. So make the first move, because you never know. Take your chances while you can. As that song goes.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Christian. Thank you so much, brother. Appreciate you being here, man.
No, thank you.
All right. Well, I'm gonna mute you. We got to close out the show here, and I'll say
do one better.
you.
I'm gonna go ahead and leave.
Can't take any more. I understand. Christian, anyway, Christian, thank you so much for being here. I do appreciate it. We will do this again, brother.
Oh, much thanks love. For the warning.
Yeah, least I can do. Never let me said I didn't do the least we can do. And Carleen, before you go, says, "Great show. Love you both, Brian and Christian." Right love back at you, Carly. And Carl, great night, and night, everyone. And thank you all. And Christian Basel again. Thank you very much, brother. And have a great evening, my friend.
You too, pal.
All right, will do. Take care, bye. And there we go. I was making sure you hit the right button. I don't always get that for myself. And thank you, Syndicate, for your great jokes and your observation. Thank you all for your fantastic questions and comments. Sorry we could not get to all of you, as usual, unfortunately. But anyway, we do appreciate your being here. Thank you to everyone who listens to us on iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and Spotify. Thank you so very much to Plasma Fire Graphics when the look of your book matters to you, because it matters to your readers. So please check out PlasmaFireGraphics.com and check out their page on Facebook. And also, please, 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 if you have not already, check out The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. If you are even casually interested in anything relating to Doctor Who, it's a great, great show. I love that show. I tune into it every week. And also, please go to their Facebook page, and let's see if we can get Christian to 51,000 follows on that great page of his. And also, please, as usual, if you want to get on my free monthly newsletter, please go to risingtide.pub, or if you have Facebook direct messenger, send me your email, your personal email. I promise I'll never share it with anyone. It stays with me, and we'll get you that. We'll get you on the list for the monthly newsletter, where we have unique videos. We have motivation, education, inspiration, secret links. Some great quotes in there, and let you know where we're going to be during the next month. Next issue goes out February 1st at 5 p.m. We'd love it if you were a part of that group. Also, if you're watching us on Facebook on the Brian K. Morris or on the Rising Tide Publications page, please, if you've enjoyed any part of this video, give it a like if you would, or some sort of reaction. Thank you to the 19 people who have given us a reaction so far on Facebook. And also be sure to subscribe to that page. Please give that page a like too, because on Rising Tide Publications on Facebook, we have new content constantly. If you're watching us on YouTube, we appreciate you even more, because it's a bit of a journey to get there some days. But anyway, if you're on the Geek Insider page or the Rising Tide Publications page, please smash that thumbs up, subscribe if you would, please share these videos, and give a little tingle to that little bell that pops up so that you can be notified of any future appearances we make on the interwebs. And that's all I can think of to say, except that thank you to Geek Insider for powering the show. Thank you to the Rising Tide Broadcast Network. Tomorrow, I will be on at 10 a.m. For our morning talk show, Creative Conversation and Coffee. Never mind the Furthermore at 10 a.m., 9 a.m. Eastern. And then tomorrow night, I will be on Blog Talk Radio on the Star Chamber with some great conversation down there. And I'll be appearing on there with Bobby Nash, BobbyNash.com. So please come check us out. On Tuesday night at 9 p.m., Stupid O'Clock airs. It's that great after the convention conversation you know you love. You don't know where it's going. You can barely know where it's been, but it's always fun to follow. And also at 12:05, Joe Dog McKeel hosts Lunchtime at the Doghouse. Always great conversation. Today we talked about grilled cheese. That was fun. And on Friday, another Never Mind the Furthermore. Then Saturday at 11 p.m., another episode of Stupid O'Clock. And then at 7 p.m., a bunch of us from the Rising Tide Broadcast Network will be on Willow's Pillow Talk at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. We'll be talking about the network and what we're planning and where we've been and what we're doing. So anyway, thank you all for being here again. I appreciate your presence. Thank you for welcoming my guest. Special thanks to Christian Basel, Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. Remember, folks, become part of the legend. All right. And thank you again, as always, to our Patreon supporters, Cindy Kemp, Jeffrey Hayes, John B. Pica, Brian Rodman, Tina McInnery, and Remillion. Please consider becoming a patron of ours on patreon.com/Brian K. Morris. We would appreciate that. And I guess that's all the stuff I can talk about. See, and here we go. And woohoo, I'll be tuning in around 9:30 again tomorrow on the SCS. Well, anyway, thank you, Molly Daniels. Well, we're glad you're here, sweetheart. And so, as always, we're going to close out the show here again. Thank you very much for welcoming our guest, Christian Basel. Next week, we have a really, really special guest, somebody who's never been on the show before, Lacey Lemke. She is a familiar face to many of you. Nightmare Oasis, plus Dope Bunny and Clive, and other great books. She has just gotten into publishing her own stuff and doing all kinds of cool things to get through 2020, and 2021's looking up for her. So we're going to have her on next week. We hope you'll bring your great questions for the wonderful Lacey Lemke. You'll love her like I do. So anyway, folks, thank you for being here. Appreciate it as always. And as I always tell everyone, please join me tomorrow at 10 a.m. for Never Mind the Furthermore, and join us next week for Lacey Lemke on the next episode of Clever Title Pending. And as always, folks, stay smart, stay safe, wash your hands, and never apologize for being awesome. Thank you for being here. Have a fantastic
This is the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Subscribe to us wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Also catch us on the HWWS Web TV YouTube channel. Subscribe today and become part of the legend.
Thank you for tuning in to Clever Title Pending, a Rising Tide Publications and Brian K. Morris production. A member of Comic Book Advocating Network and sponsored by GeekInsider.com. Become part of our show with sponsorship and advertising opportunities. For details, contact advertising at GeekInsider.com or visit podcast.geekinsider.com. The Geek Insider podcast is available on your favorite app, so please hit the follow button and share it out to your friends. Because if you don't, you might have to turn in your geek card.